I'm Rosie Mahi. I'm a flight attendant at Mid-Hall, and today we're shooting at Hobbiton for Air New Zealand and Middle-earth.
Hello, my name is Trey Ratcliff. I'm a travel photographer. I run a website called stuckincustoms.com, and I recently moved down to Queenstown, New Zealand.
Hey, I'm Sam. I've been a flight service manager for 5 years with Air New Zealand, flying their long haul routes. So you'll find me on Los Angeles, Vancouver, San Francisco and through Asia.
My name's Alva. I am a long haul flight attendant working for Air New Zealand. We fly from Auckland to Hong Kong, Narita, Los Angeles, San Francisco, a lot of places.
I'm Russell Alexander, the General Manager of the Hobbiton Movie Set here in Matamata.
Now we're here in Hobbiton, Matamata, which is only 2.5 hours away from Auckland. And Auckland is only one night away from your hometown.
I've never done anything like this before. I am a travel photographer and I enjoy landscape photos, going around and being quite the independent artist. And I've gotten countless offers from clients to do things like this, but I've always said no. But Air New Zealand, I made an exception, probably because it's my new home. It's where I just moved with my wife and 3 kids. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart for New Zealand.
For a lot of people, New Zealand is a million miles away. The reality is, if you were to join us on one of our flights from Vancouver, Los Angeles or San Francisco, we'd feed you some beautiful food and beverage, put you to sleep for 10 or so hours, and a couple of hours after that we'll have you down in beautiful New Zealand. Middle-earth is closer than you think.
It's my first time coming here, and I feel as a New Zealander that it's important that I have been here and been able to experience Hobbiton and recommend that all travellers come here and see it for themselves.
The best part of today's work is being here, being somewhere, all the sceneries that we see in the movies. It's in the fantasy world, and of course working with fantastic crews here. There's a lot of work to be done behind the scene.
Yeah, today's been full of highlights. Something I didn't really know before, that Air New Zealand uses its own flight attendants in these ads and in their in-flight videos. So that was kind of a shock to me. I think it's really cool.
The Hobbiton Movies developed a relationship with Air New Zealand that goes back, I suppose it really started at least 10 years ago. We've been going 15 years. And now the airline to Middle-earth, it's a privilege, but it's hard work. Like a lot of good jobs are hard work, it doesn't just happen. Like any industry, I suppose, if you're going to be successful, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's a lot of hours, and you know, I think I was with you last night till 10 o'clock and we started at 5 in the morning. Here we are, in the dark again tonight.
I'm holding the dragon bunny. Even my toes are actually here.
So here we are in the middle of Hobbiton, and this is it's an amazing, beautiful morning. And I've never done anything quite like this before. I have never worked with a client before like this, so this is very unusual. And so Air New Zealand made this wonderful offer to come out and do this incredible scene in Hobbiton. We're showing off some of their products. And actually something that's also unusual and kind of uncomfortable about this for me is I'm just shooting with a little camera. For my whole life, I've usually shot with just giant cameras, big old DSLRs. But I've recently switched to smaller cameras because I don't think you need to have a big camera in order to take a good photo. I think taking a good photo is, you know, more in your head than in the camera. So I've been experimenting with these a lot, and it's just a tiny little camera, and even here, hand me my bag there. Thanks. So, in fact, in here are all of my lenses, and I could even put it in a bag half this size. So I'm gonna do this whole shoot just with this tiny little camera, and you know, frankly, I really don't even know what I'm doing out here. I have a few ideas. The general idea is going to, here, you can take this back. The general idea is that I'm gonna get people to stand still while I capture the light in many different ways. So here's what we're gonna do. I've never done anything quite like this. Not even remotely like this. So I'll say if you think to put your mind at ease, maybe. or scare you, because this could be Air New Zealand's biggest mistake was hiring me. So I have a special technique that I do with these photos, all right? And I'll tell you a quick little story that relates to this. So I just went to Burning Man. Coincidentally, I was taken by Air New Zealand. You delivered me safely, so thank you. And while I was there, it's this big gathering of 50,000 artists and musicians and stuff. And so I was going through the desert, and there was this huge, like, 3-story Victorian house that was rolling across the desert. And this guy came out of it, and he's all dressed in Victorian clothes, and he pulls out this old camera. It was an old 1898 Kodak Bullseye. It's basically like a square of wood with a lens on the front. And then he got everyone to stand still for 20 or 30 seconds, and he took a photo, because that's how those things worked. Well, this is pretty much the same kind of thing we're going to do today, except with modern technology. So what I'm going to do is take many photos of you guys. Once we find a good pose, you'll hold it for a long time. While I take many different photos, I get many different levels of light, and then what I do is I go into Photoshop and I'll layer them all together, and then almost like with a palette knife scraping through impasto, I'll create this totally unique tableau vivant where you'll just be one with the nature, and it will be quite unlike anything we've ever seen before. So anyway, the net result of all this is you'll have to be like perfectly still while I perform these maneuvers. Okay? So we'll try a few different poses, and we'll talk with Dom and figure out what works and what doesn't work with different situations. So, but we'll get through it pretty quick. All right? Okay. So the first one we'll do is just...
Yeah, I reckon the first one we do is you guys in your own little moment, having a good time, and you kind of just looking on and just seeing that everyone's happy and just looking beautiful and elf-like. So let's start there. We'll start smaller, and then we'll get a tray with the beer jug with you, and then get ones where they're interacting with you. So we'll just try kind of 3 different things and see what works.
I like 1 foot up on the ground.
All right, everybody. This is Trey. I thought I'd do a little director's cut voiceover here. So I'll kind of talk through what I'm seeing and thinking during these scenes. I basically had Belle, our videographer, just put together a bunch of B-roll here, because I thought you might want to hear more about what I was saying and thinking.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Now, in this particular scene, I was trying to figure out where his head was relative to the camera, because I wanted to get his head, well, he's a sort of a stunt stand-in for that half elvish flight attendant that's about to step in there. Because it's quite busy there at the Hobbit hole, and I wanted the head level to be up above in the grass, so I was trying to make sure it's all nicely positioned. And by the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the resulting shots of all these, and I will talk through them a bit. So we were having this weird kind of partly cloudy day. Maybe occasionally when she pans up, you'll see what was happening. And so it would alternate between being like blasting sun on her face and clouds. And for whatever reason, during this period, there was just no clouds at all. You can see maybe some up on the horizon, so we had to kind of do that little homemade Hobbiton diffuser thing. We just tied a sheet between 2 sticks that we found.
Okay, guys, ready?
So kind of what the scene here is, and what we were trying to do with the shot, you might notice this strange anachronism with this super modern Air New Zealand seat in the middle of Hobbiton. The idea, of course, is that, you know, it's so comfortable, and it kind of fits into the nature, and we wanted it to just feel natural and weird, and a little bit surreal, a little David Lynchy, you know, a little horse in the living room type thing. And so the thing is that these Air New Zealand flight attendants are the ones that are dressed up, and then those are actors over on the right, you know, like regular humans. And so it's the Air New Zealand ones that got dressed up like characters. So what I'm asking her to do here is, the sun is so bright. I mean, it's just blasting out. It's hard to keep your eyes open for that long. So I would ask them to keep their eyes closed, and then I would tell them to open their eyes and look at me, and that's when I would take the shot. So
Yeah, the last
really
lean
blast
in there,
out
or
there
just
with their eyes.
You like how she is? You got her leaning in?
Let me tell you more. Who are these other people that you're seeing in the scene? Okay, well, the guy with the beret, he is the art director for the client. Okay. A really nice guy.
Of both
And, you know, I never worked with anyone like this before. I thought, oh, was it going to be like a bunch of conflict, or, you know, are we going to be budding artistic brains or anything like that? But it was nothing like that at all. He was a tremendous resource. And, you know, this is something I came to discover. He's like my ally in this. And he had, you know, looked at all my photos beforehand. He was a fan or whatever. So we got along just great. And he was able to do all these things that I didn't know how to do, or maybe not that I didn't know how to do, it's just that I had no expertise in it. Like, you'll see him working with wardrobe and stuff like that later. So there's a huge crew on this scene, as you're probably getting the sense of here. This is Rosanna. She's getting all her hair done back in the little makeup room. And you can see the elf ears are already on. I love this look. This is one of the little Hobbit girls, a little actress that we hired to dress up like a Hobbit. You'll see her later. So one thing, like, for example, I wouldn't have known, is that I guess it's the Tolkien estate, people that do the Lord of the Rings that own all the IP. There is a sort of a way you have to do the hair. Like, it has to come in front of the elf ears in a certain way and behind the elf ears in another way. So here's the thing that Don was doing, the art director from True, is he would help them pick out which kind of clothes to wear, right? And then, like, he would look at this guy's jeans and say, oh, the jeans need to be a little tighter in the legs, or whatever. And all these makeup people running around making everyone look nice. There's even specific standards as to, like, how this kind of elvish crown needs to fit on her forehead and how far down it has to go. And they told us that these ears, these elf ears, if we keep them in the sun too long, they start to melt. So there's a bit of time pressure in there. I think this is such a cool shot that Belle got. By the way, thank you, Belle, for doing all this stuff. Do that nice depth of field on that. I feel like I should have gotten a few detail shots there, but I
that's fine.
didn't. Everyone is so nice all week. I didn't expect. I thought there'd be more conflict or drama or whatever, but everyone was just super happy to be there. This is Elva, really nice flight attendant, sort of half Asian, half elf, double kryptonite. We were here, I think, inside the Hobbit hole. We're inside Bilbo's hole because it started to rain, and so we kind of took refuge in here. Took refuge in here, not refuse. We did leave a bit of refuse behind. That's Sam. He was sort of dressed up as a human, sort of Strider, Aragorn kind of guy with a bit of leather, and he was super nice. In fact, I sent an early video of this to my mom, who hasn't come to visit me in New Zealand yet. And she's like, I want that guy to be on my flight. So let's see if I can set that up for you, Mom. We started doing all this crazy lighting, too, because we knew it was going to be getting dark. And I wanted Bilbo's hole to be lit from the inside. And we also hung some special lanterns. So this is actually the same crew that did all the lighting and everything for the Hobbit movies. And they're all just hanging around. We had to get extension cords. And, man, I felt bad asking for anything because it would mean all these guys would start running around and lifting all this stuff. And I guess I'm just used to being sort of a one-man show. And then we also wanted to add a bit more color into some of the shots. We brought some extra flowers in and some extra grass. And when we first started setting up this particular shot, that sky seat was sitting like kind of on plain, either like asphalt or pathway, and so these guys can just pick up huge amounts of grass and lay them down, and then I would look through my lens to make sure that it was in the right spot. I mean, look how they're individually putting in these flowers because we just wanted a bit more color around these steps. I mean, unbelievable! Look at that. These guys, what a discipline. It's strange to have this whole fleet of Hobbiton gardeners around you all the time. It's kind of like real life Photoshop because they clone stamp some of these over there, give you some content-aware flowers. But they actually do it. So this picture, I turned out this. You'll see in the final shot. This was actually one of my least favorite photos. I had a bit of trouble framing it. It came out all right, but one thing I really didn't like was the water. And you might have seen I have subsequent photos of this where the water's totally still. You get that really nice reflection. For whatever reason, that, you know, the water's super clean and super nice, but when it was flowing in that way because of the wind, it made it all kind of dirty looking.
Yeah, because that will be something interesting to look at.
So here we're trying to figure out what to do with the boat, all right? Because I have a pretty wide angle lens on there. I think I'm 10 to, I think this is my 10 to 18 millimeter lens. There's Jenna there holding my tripod so it doesn't get knocked over. There's a bit of controversy coming up. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it or not. But we had these two kids that were trying to get into this shot. The idea was, so this is a sky couch. It's a special seat that can be converted into sort of this couch. So you can lay down
if
on
it's
it.
not working, I don't mind if it goes.
So of course this, you know, that was just not a good look for this. So we're moving this thing around. It's floating all over the place. And I kept hoping that the wind would calm down, but it never did. We got our diffuser back. Okay, so here's these two kids. That little girl you remember there on the right, and the controversy is in this kid on the far left. You're about to see this kid disappear from future shots because he just was not happy.
Okay, now a little smile. Now a big smile.
He did not like his feet.
What happened to your dragon?
Here we go. Freak out level 1. Here we go. Things are going downhill. Trying to make sure he's comfy and happy. He is neither comfortable nor happy. I think he's being carted off. This reminds me of like an injury in the NFL when you get this cart come up to take him away and they're trying to give him games on the iPad. And he was a cute kid, but I think he was just having a bad day. You know kids. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, so now, here we go. The kid is magically gone. He's been replaced by a new child, a new Hobbit child who's super happy and super cute. This one is having a good day. Now, you'll see him there by himself because I already got that little redheaded girl over on the right, and then I put him on the left, and then
So this is a really good
massed them together later.
This, style of photography where it really shines because we're in a super dark place in Bilbo's Hobbit hole, but it's super bright outside. And so the human eye can see this. But if you just take one photo with a camera, it's almost impossible to get all that light in there. So you end up taking many shots at different shutter speeds to get it all. And then you stitch it later together in a tool. Like I use this tool called Photomatics. It's a process called HDR, or high dynamic range. And it's a really fun way to take these kind of photos and make it look like it really does when you're there on a scene, like if you've ever taken a photo of a sunset or a sunrise and it just comes out flat and you show it to people who say, well, you had to be there. Well, you don't have to say that with this kind of photo. And actually this is a technique that anybody can do, so it's really fun. And this is a perfect situation for it. So look at this, and then I'll zoom out. I'm just going to put up that.
Oh, I know.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what they want, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's just one exposure.
That background looks like a painting.
Yeah.
Would you
Okay, we're ready to shoot. We can
Cool.
get our
All right.
friends out of the background there.
So we'll just do like, I reckon we'll do a variety. Both of you guys kind of like this. Bilbo's open the door. You're giving him a little bit of attitude, but fun, and then we'll do something a bit more smiley, and a bit more relaxed. So yeah.
Hey Albert, just look at me. Just keep, just so you know, just all your hair will be back. So if you feel it going forward, just going to flip back. Smiling or not? Attitude smiling.
Yeah, let's see. No smiling. Just we'll probably do both.
So my challenge here was kind of to fierce out how much of the door do I keep in there. You know, do I want to keep the whole door in? I'm pretty wide, so I can easily fit it all in.
A bit fierce.
Smile.
And, you know, I was just basically getting as many shots as I could, and I ended up with a ton later in Lightroom, which is fine. So I had many to choose from, because trying to get their expressions to be natural is always a bit hard. These are not real actors, you know, they're just regular people. And so, but they did a great job, even when they kind of put on their acting mode, you know.
1, 2, 3.
They're used to it being flight attendants. They're
Good.
kind of used to being on the stage.
First set of 3 coming up. 1, 2, 3. Next set.
One problem that I had with this photo, and I kind of knew that it was happening at the time, but then it really got bad later in Lightroom, is two things. One, the light is very warm. You know, there's no white light at all. You can see how that sign is almost totally white,
another angle
or
of that
totally
one.
orange. And also, all the light is bouncing off the ground. Like, look at the shadows on their cheekbones. The shadows are kind of above the cheekbones, which you're just not used to, you know. So that was pretty difficult to fix later on, because it almost makes them look a little bit evil or whatever. And obviously, I'm not a big lighting guy, and there's probably people watching this that are like great at all kinds of lighting and stuff. But I didn't do a lot of that. This was actually the only time that the light failed me. Because it's sort of an indoor, almost studio situation. I should have thought about it at the time, so that was a mistake. But we were still able to recover a pretty good shot out of it.
A little like non-happy attitude, but just a cool attitude. Like you're just owning it. Like you're owning it.
But naturally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Someone just pressed call bell 10 times.
Take one micro step in all of it.
Those are a bit smaller, aren't they? You feel your toes and things?
Am I holding that right?
Yeah.
And you can see how weird the lighting is here.
Nice smiles.
You see how my glasses, they kind of form these devil horns on my forehead.
Okay, that should be good.
Good.
One is okay.
Good luck, Elsie.
Right?
All right, now we're setting up for the next shot. You know, we tried to reuse this stuff as much as possible. These are the steps up to Bilbo's house, and I kind of wanted to line them all up and figure out a way to get them all into the shot. I do like the way this one turned out.
Ready for one, I want you to smile. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. You guys are awesome.
These kids are so dang cute.
They
were happy all day, too.
Okay. Super cute. Great smile. Look at that.
Look at that pose she has. The little ears.
Oh my God.
So they didn't put on her ears so well. This makeup wasn't smooth. There's a rough edge there, so
Awesome.
I knew I'd be taking that out later in Photoshop or smoothing it out.
What happened to Dulcie's ear?
You can kind of see
It's
there
inside the
how
pretend ear.
her ear was put on. They're a little big too. They're kind of grown-up ears. So, you know, I did a few things to make them smaller later in
You can
Photoshop.
have some pretending ears too.
How do you get up?
There's her
Take
brother.
them off with the remover.
I'm not sure at what stage of the meltdown this was. I think it's probably a little pre-meltdown. Look at the detail in the costumes. Like, none of this stuff is cheap. It's all like real, handmade stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is definitely pre-meltdown.
It's not really us at all.
You just rip
It's
this
all
stuff
post
off
production.
like
Okay.
a triathlete switching from one.
All right.
Okay, this was a
you can play
great
with the
shot
dragon
too. I really
again.
enjoyed this one.
She could actually come over.
We
a little
moved
bit,
that
put
giant
the
sky
knees
couch
in,
over
and-
there.
Be more spread out.
Super
Yeah,
heavy.
like really make a couch out of it. You know.
Down below, you can see the lake,
There you
and
go. That's
that's
good.
the Green Dragon Inn way in the
Yeah.
distance. And that's a party tree on the left. So the idea was to,
Yeah.
you know, this is this place where Bilbo and Gandalf are sitting, sort of in the middle, or first part of the Lord of the Rings movie. They're looking out. And so we're trying to get these kids in different kinds of situations. I'm trying to make sure that they don't overlap, so that I can. Because the idea that I could actually get both kids doing the same cute thing at the exact same time is super rare. So I wanted to make sure that I was up above them and looking down, so there was some separation, so I could swap out
Look at each other.
one for the
Nice
next.
smile to each other. There you go. that's great.
I wasn't in love with the sky
Someone
here.
grab- Carl, do you wanna take
You know, I
the
usually
dragon?
don't copy and
do you
paste
want
like
the
one
dragon?
sky from one picture into another. I was
See if
actually
the
up here
point
at
fits in his
sunrise
mouth.
taking a bunch of photos, just in case, because I knew that this shot was
Hey,
coming
yeah.
up.
Can you
I was
fly
afraid
the
it'd be
dragon over the
overcast
gold?
like this, but I ended up just using this sky, and it turned out all right, I guess. It wasn't the perfect sky.
Hey, Dulcie.
So this boy here, he's our, he was
Cool,
our
that's great.
stand-in, I guess. It's actually Russell Alexanderson. He is the general manager there of Hobbiton. You probably saw him in that
Nice smiles,
intro
guys.
video. I mean, he's a great guy,
Hey,
great
Dulcie.
kid. Look at that smile.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
what a perfect Hobbit kid that is. Amazing.
Make yours breathe fire at his. Breathe fire at it. Fireball. Attack.
Attack mine. Great.
Yeah,
I mean, so I'm sure some of you guys are watching this that are child photographers.
There's more where that came from. You guys are doing great.
I don't know how you guys get these kids to smile and do stuff. I'm always impressed. I could barely get my kids to do anything, much less other kids.
Look at us. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Double check.
So you can hear me taking 3 shots all the time because I'm always bracketing everything. -2, 0, and +2.
1, 2, 3.
Just so that I have lots to choose from later on.
1, 2, 3.
Now, as far as the expression goes, or trying to get the best one, I usually pick the 0 exposure. The others are for the environment.
Can we look at each other?
This was the last and kind of most difficult shot we got, and I had this idea to have this transition from nighttime to daytime. Okay, where they're sort of sitting there in the daytime on the right, looking at sort of the in-flight entertainment medieval menu there. And then coming down from the left is going to be Sam there, and that's going to be the nighttime part of the shot. So I kind of kept the camera in the exact same spot. So we took this as the daytime part, and I had him stand there just sort of as a reference because I knew I'd be coming back at night and shooting the same thing again. See that little lantern that's right there by the gate? That thing took him about half an hour to get installed because we just wanted a little bit of extra light there, especially for the nighttime portion.
-1. Here, 1, 2, 3. Here comes the last one. 1, 2, 3.
I would give them a little bit of a countdown there so they would, you know, because you can't just make them sit there forever.
All right, so here we are outside of Bilbo's house. It's nighttime, and we're going to try kind of a weird sort of shot that may totally fail. You may see this bag around my camera. It's because about 2 hours ago it was absolutely pouring in rain, and we had the first half of a shot with the space seat here, and I had this weird concept, which I haven't done any post-processing yet, so it still may fail. But where this side of the kind of epic photo is during the daytime or evening or sort of amorphous, but here on Bilbo's stairs going up to his house is sort of at nighttime. 3, 2. So anyway, it started to torrentially rain, and we covered up my tripod with a trash bag because I wanted to keep it in the exact same position for the second half of the shot, which we wanted to get at night. So in the intervening 2 hours, we went down to the Green Dragon and had some ale and grog and other good dwarven elven activities. And then we stumbled up here to get the second half of the shot, and Sam stood here and we tried something where I would do
But I want to get some more shots here so everyone can maybe back up.
And then I had very nice people help me by carrying flashes and flashing them from multiple sides so that we could get him properly lit with the background and this sort of thing. So anyway, we'll look and see if it turned out okay, but maybe we get an A for effort at least. So we're going to go home. It's been a super long day. I think we started at 5 a.m. and man, it's going to be about 9 o'clock now, so it's been a long day, but we had a good time, and hopefully we can pull some gold from the mines of Moria.
Now I'm going to show you all the final images, and I'll show you even the ones I don't like, and I'll tell you the ones that I do like. All right, so this is one of the ones that I quite like. Actually, this is one of the first ones I took that morning. This is this space seat kind of on its own in front of, I think this is Sam Gange's house, actually. And I took many versions of this shot. We did wait until the sun was good and the clouds were nice and Hobbiton-y all back there. So kind of made that happen. So I put in that sky, but it was all the same framing. And I love how the sun was coming through like these clouds. You can kind of see that there's a weird quality to the light hitting this, hitting the hobbit hole and the seat and everything. So I feel like it came out really nice. I set up a few things on the scene to make sure it was good. One was even this little pile of wood. I wanted that to be seen. It was kind of peeking out, so I had to go over there and move it so I wanted it to be lit. You can kind of see that. The other thing is when we had people put in grass here, see this kind of dirt pathway, which by the way in Photoshop I darkened up quite a bit and made it look a little darker because it was a bit light looking. But it used to be all dirt pathway, but we had to put this grass here because, even though, I'm good at Photoshop or whatever, getting the grass to come up in front like this in sort of this organic way with the shadows, I mean, that's almost impossible Photoshop trick right there. A few other little things I did is I made sure the grass was a little bit glowy right here. Did some of that in post-production. Just to add a little bit of magic mystery to it. All right. Okay, so that's that shot. Let's look at the next one. Here's the one with the team in there, and you can see how I kind of got her head above, up into the grass, so it stood out by itself. Luckily, there's a little burst of wind there to kind of throw her cape back and make it look more capey. We set up the food in a certain way so it looked nice and looking nice and engaging, and I feel like this one flows pretty well. You can see there's a slightly different perspective than this one. So if I go back and forth between the two, you can see this one I've aimed the camera a little bit more to the right because I really like seeing this little bit of railing up there. I like seeing the other hobbit holes, so on and so forth. And I also wanted these three to be sort of in the center of it. All right. There's a different sky too, you'll notice. We have two different skies to choose from. All right. Okay, so that's that. Here's the one from up above that you might remember. This was kind of one of the final shots that we got. And this was composed out of two different ones. Like at one point she was looking at him, at another point he was looking up. But as you can see, like I can zoom in here a little bit. As you can see, there's a nice line of separation here that goes between them because it gets hard to overlap people at some point. You know what I mean? But I do like all the other detail down here. It's super high-res photo, of course. I think in the voiceover, I might have been wrong. I did put in another sky because this is much more cheery than it was before. It was just kind of overcast before. All right. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way this one turned out. I'm glad I got up above them to aim down. And we positioned in such a way so that these flowers, these whitish flowers, kind of form a little curve here to make it feel like it's part of the scene. All right. Good. Okay, so that's that one. Here's one of the final shots, and I said before I wasn't too happy with it. The way this one turned out, that's not true. I am kind of happy with it. You can see I did take the water and I blued it up a little bit to make it look less brown and less dingy. But what happened here with the lighting was really weird. Like, for example, obviously here she was standing in the sun, and I feel like I got a really good kind of happy expression on her face. So I'm pretty happy with that. But the sun was way too bright on her. So, for example, right there I used the that diffuse shot where it was on her. And here, which I felt like was believable because she could be in the shadow of this. Here he was in the total sun. As you see, her feet are in the total sun and with the shadow hanging off and this sort of thing. Of course, these are two different photos merged together again because she had gone away by the time he came onto the scene. All right. I do like the way the blue of the dragon matches the blue of the boat and the blue of that house, and I like matching some of these colors here and there. I also generally like the composition way up here, way at the top. Let me give you some perspective of what's going on here. If you look way at the top up here, that's Bilbo's house. That's where we took the previous photo, and see that green hole right there? That's the hole that we were inside when you see some of the other shots being taken. All right, there's 44 hobbit holes here altogether, so we had lots to choose from. Look at that expression, that adoration. What a little actress she is. Awesome. And here's the photo of they wanted one of the seats by themselves, which I think is totally mega boring. I don't know how to make it any better, really. I think smoother water would be better. Actually, that's not true. I did have another idea, but we didn't have time to get to it. We did bring up these barrels here, by the way, to make it feel like it just felt empty here without them there, so we brought these barrels and rolled them up to that position. No, another idea that would have been better, I think, if we had time, and that was to scoot back and use a strong lens, like a 200 millimeter lens, to get some compression, right, to bring these holes forward. Because right now with a wide angle lens, they're very tiny, and this is very big. So these are kind of the star of the show. But if I was to get back further with a powerful lens, I could use that compression technique, where this stays about the same size, but it pulls these holes in a bit bigger. But I do like being able to see all the tree here and everything. One thing I do lament about this photo is I wish there was a bit of separation here between these tall poplars, I guess. I don't know what kinds of trees these are, and this giant tree right here. That didn't exactly happen, but it's okay. Now here's a whole series of photos that came from inside. You know, these are all just kind of average. I'm not really so into them. Probably because the lighting was weird outside and inside. But you kind of see the framing I got, how I decided to keep the whole door in here. But it's really just kind of blown out behind them, so I couldn't do much. For this one, I had 2 different lighting versions. One that was sort of this cross-process look that I set them sort of on a lark. And then this one, which is more normally lit. But, you know, behind him, it was just so rainy and kind of dead out there. It didn't feel so amazing behind them. And you can see that I did manage to decrease some of the strangeness of the shadows. But still, there's still some strangeness there. Now, you might not have noticed that unless I mentioned it to you. I don't know. Here's one that I'm pretty happy with. I love the little girl's expression there on the right. I like all the little flowers that they're poking up and happy. We did some lighting on the inside of Bilbo's hole there, so you could see some detail there. But I do like the way this one turned out. It feels pretty good. And last is sort of the big shot, that final shot, where they're here in the daytime and he's coming down from nighttime. So I like that it's sort of a weird shot and you can't quite get a grip on what is happening. That's kind of the fantasy feel that I was going for. And this light here is all lit up. That feels very nice and homey, and the pumpkins and everything's well lit. We actually had to light him many different ways. We would, do a long exposure and have him stand there and smile. And then Jenna and some other assistants would go around and just pop him with flashes in different ways. In fact, we had this kind of laughing fit because we were lighting him from above and everything down here was quite dark. So she actually had to get right under there with the flash, and she kind of kept flashing his crotch all the time. So I have a lot of photos, just of Sam's like crotch floating in the night. But anyway, I picked the best crotch to Sam, and I put it into the final photo there. Yeah, so I feel like this one turned out pretty well. And this is all the lighting that you see on the inside, glowing from the inside and kind of flowing out. And this is, of course, the night sky up here. Yeah, I like the way this one turned out. I'll show you a few other photos that I took while I was there. This is one that I took at that night while after they pulled away the couch. So I do like the way this one turned out too. It's kind of nice and glowy and warm. I'll keep showing you some more photos. These are all casual, kind of behind the scenes photo. There's Belle. She's the one that was did the video that you saw. There's one of me. This was taken by the social media gal at Air New Zealand. Here's Rosie. So we had a bit of time, when we weren't shooting, when we were all stuck in the Hobbit hole. So I put on my 50mm and just started getting some little casual shots like these. This is one when they're just kind of goofing around, laughing, and having a good time. I really oftentimes prefer these sort of in-betweener shots. They just feel just so much more natural and less posed. There's Sam. He's so good looking, that man. There's another one of Rosie. She's, I think she's 1/4 Maori. There's the one with my devil horns on my head. There's Elva. I think it's cool their name is Elva, almost like Elvin. She was really fun. There's another one of Sam looking awesome. There is the little hobbit kid, Russell's son. Such a cutie. Look at that hair. Man, look at that hair. Awesome. He loved it. There's another one of Rosanna. And then they were kind of fixing each other's hair. I thought that was sort of a nice scene. And I like how the lighting popped in weird on her hand down below. I think that's kind of strange and interesting. There's another one of Sam just kind of keeping it real, being awesome in his leather gauntlets. And this is this is one of the last ones I'll show of the kind of behind the scenes thing. That's that little girl. The perfect hobbit child there. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let me just double click and look at what other photos we have. I'll show you a few other photos as long as we're here that I've taken in and around Hobbiton. I've got a lot more to process, of course, but I'll show you a few of these. Let me see if I pick one to show you last. I'll put that one last because that's one of my favorites. So that morning, actually, when we arrived at the shoot, we got there before anyone else, and this was the sunrise that we had that morning. So I knew it was going to be a nice day. I kind of wish we were out shooting even this early because I feel like we could have got even better, more magical backgrounds at this point. That's the watermill over on the left that you'll notice, and I have more shots of that later coming up. Here's a shot of sort of one of the plow or one of the little wagons down on the bottom, and that's the party tree up there. And here's a little factoid. Did you know that tree right there is fake? It's not even a real tree. It's totally fake. Even when you get up to it, you can hardly tell. It's really amazing. Stuff happened on my Dropbox. This is another kind of example of a shot that I like to get, where you have something close in the foreground, like you feel like you could reach out and touch it, and then sort of a middle and a distance. And the water was so nice and tasty smooth this morning that it felt good. This is also the same path that you saw us walking down in the beginning of the video. Here's another shot from later in the morning. I went over to try to get the party tree and make that a major part of it and focus a little bit more on the hobbit holes. Here's one of the many hobbit holes that we did not end up shooting at. I kind of wish we did, because I think this is one of the most lavishly decorated. Actually, I fully processed this. For those of you that have the HDR tutorial, the new one, where I process about 10 different photos and you watch me process them, that's what this one is from. Actually, there's two different versions of this. There's this one, A, and B. The only difference is in B, you get to see this little picnicky area and more of the party tree, and you get to see this little other room over there. I think that's so cool. Wouldn't it be awesome to live in there, and then this could be your bedroom over there? So cool. Here's another shot from inside the hobbit hole. This is when the weather was finally a little bit better. I think I shot this the next day, actually, when the weather was better. And I do kind of like this angle. This is just another path going around. You can kind of see, I could stay there all day shooting these hobbit holes. There's 44 of them. They all look totally amazing. This is inside the Green Dragon Inn, down at the bottom. There's Pickles down there, just cold chilling. We could not rattle that guy. He was just always he's the sheriff of that town. This is outside the Green Dragon. This is that night. We had you might have seen in the video too, she was interviewing me out here. So while she was setting up to interview me, I just turned around and took a few shots. One thing I do not like about this photo, I'll tell you, is that there were some long exposures, and there's a bit of blurriness in this tree here because the wind was blowing it around. It's not the end of the world, but anyway, that was just a little thing that bothered me. This is from recent. They opened it up for night tours. They just lit them all up. So actually last week I was there shooting some of this night stuff. It's totally different at night and at dusk with all these lights going on. It's really quite wonderful. This is the party tree under the Milky Way. They have a huge banquet there now too. This is the same place. This is inside the Green Dragon. So if you do a night tour, you can have this huge, medieval feast. Everyone uses their hands, and there's potatoes being thrown around, and tales of ribaldry, and all kinds of stuff going on. This is a typical HDR shot, by the way, -2, 0, and +2. Here is another morning there in Hobbiton. Another smooth, nice morning with those incredible clouds. Here's another set of incredible clouds, just to give you some perspective again here. There's the water mill, there's this beautiful, cool bridge, and there's the Green Dragon Inn over there. And I love the way these clouds were arching overhead, so I tried to get it both on the top and on the bottom. Here's another one from the top of Hobbiton, looking down. We get these strange clouds one afternoon. I kind of like the way that turned out. You might remember this area too. This is right in the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings movie. Gandalf was riding through there on his wagon, and it's kind of a nice entrance into Hobbiton. And this is the last one I'll leave you with. This is the water mill early in the morning. The little boat beside it. It was such a perfect reflection. It was crazy. And then actually I was about to shoot this, and they turned on the water mill, and it started turning, and it made all the water go crazy. So we had to ask them to turn it off so we get a nice smooth reflection. All right, well that takes us through all the photos. Hope you enjoyed that little tour. I really had a good time taking it. And I'll just try to wrap it up here and say something that I'm thinking. That this was a really wonderful experience all around. I was kind of, I don't know if scared was the right word going into it, but I was just a bit worried about it all, I guess. But I think everyone had a good time. I know I had a good time. I learned a lot. I made a few mistakes, but I had a few successes. they were really happy with everything, and yeah, it was just all around a great experience. And as far as using a small camera, I use the NEX7 on this. I've since switched now. As of the time of recording this, I'm using a Sony A7R. I have a review on all these cameras and other cameras on my website if you want to find out more. But the big difference now is that I'm using a full frame sensor with the A7R, whereas here I used a crop frame sensor with the NEX7. And before that, I'd been shooting with a big Nikon DSLR, like a D3X and D800, all kinds of stuff for years and years and years. But I found that my photos came out just fine. I'm not sure a full frame camera would have done any better, frankly. So I was perfectly happy with what came out of this situation. So, and I know one thing people are probably wondering is, like, did the client ever give me any pushback for having such a small camera? No, not at all. In fact, the art director, who does this kind of stuff all the time, wouldn't even say he was confused. He was just interested, and he was so mesmerized at the end, he was going to buy one of those NEX7s too, because he was completely sold on it. So yeah. Anyway, that is the end of the story. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. I am around for you. Thank you. Bye.